New Comic Book Day is here once again. So let's take a look at the books on my pull list. Welcome back to Comics Are Dope. I'm BJ Kicks, and this is the pull list. It's my weekly rundown of all the books that I'm grabbing for the week. We're going to talk about the books that are on my pull list, what's hit the chopping block, and we'll even talk about some brand new series debuts that are on the radar for this week of New Comics, Wednesday, November 13th, 2024. This year is flying by. So there's a lot of books coming out. You know, I try to stick to my weekly budget of $50. They're making it impossible in the fourth quarter of 2024. They're just making it impossible. I guess it's a good problem to have. I am grabbing all these books at my LCS, Fight or Flight Comics in Raleigh, North Carolina. Shout out to them. They just had a signing with Matthew Klein, the writer of Crashing from IDW Originals. So that was really fun. Wish you could have made it out. But hey, there will be other signings in the future. Make sure you follow them on Instagram so that you know when they are. But let's talk about the books that I'm picking up this week. And we're going to start with the book that I'm most excited for. And this week, that is Absolute Batman, issue number 2. Absolute Batman, written by Scott Snyder, art by Nick Dragotta. Issue 1 was everything you would expect an alternate universe Batman title to be, right? If, you know, and they're going to hate this comparison, but if the Absolute Universe is like DC's answer to Marvel's Ultimate Universe, then Absolute Batman is very much the answer to Ultimate Spider-Man. This year, I feel like no book was like subversive in the way that Ultimate Spider-Man was, except Absolute Batman. Absolute Batman took everything we know about Bruce Wayne, flipped it on its head, gave it a very interesting premise, and kind of shot us into this new status quo. Bruce's relationship with Alfred, different. Bruce's relationship with his parents, different. Bruce's relationship with all of the villains of Gotham, also different in some very interesting ways. That it even ended with a really cool twist at the end that I felt like they could have saved for later. But now that we're here, and I want to see exactly what's going on. So that's all I can say without spoiling the first issue. Absolute Batman, issue number 2, is out this week. Cover price is $4.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And since we're talking about DC Comics, let's continue with the list, starting with You're right. You guessed it. Action Comics issue 1075 is still on my list. I am still buying it this week. Not really much to say. I still haven't read most of the issues involved, but I haven't seen anything that would make me want to drop it, except the fact that it's coming out a little bit too often. This one, I guess, because it's issue 1075, they've made up like a little milestone, so it's more expensive this time around. Cover price on it's $5.99. Shout out to Mark Waid, Clayton Henry. Can't remember who's on that backup story, Mariko Tamaki. And dang, I wish I could remember the artist's name, because the Supergirl story, the art in it is great. I'll put it on the screen. Anyway, $5.99 on that. I'm grabbing cover A. Next up is Batman and Robin, issue number 15. Batman and Robin, written by Philip Kennedy Johnson. The art is by Javi Fernandez. And yo, it's good. It is really good. A new villain, a very like interesting, like kind of darker take on Batman and Robin. I'm excited about it so far. Only read the one issue, and if I'm honest, I probably need to reread it. There's been a lot of stuff going on in the last month for me. But it's Philip Kennedy Johnson, so it's going to be a while before I'm looking at this like, oh, maybe I should drop it. And it probably won't happen. Cover price on this one is $4.99. I'm grabbing cover A. Here's another one that I'm very excited about from Brandon Thomas. This is Black Lightning, issue number 1. The art in this is by Fico Ocio, if I'm saying that correctly. Could be Fico. Fico is taxes or something, or a credit score. Either way, Black Lightning number 1, I did get a chance to preview this thanks to Brandon Thomas, and it's really good. It's really good. Like, you know, for all of my complaining about how DC has not really platformed its black characters like in quite some time, we've got the static stuff, we got the milestone stuff going on, which more on that next week. But Black Lightning always feels like one of those characters that you just don't see. Last we saw him, we had the Batman and the Outsiders run, and he's been in some issues of like the Batman, what is that anthology? Brave and the Bold, which I believe Brandon Thomas was writing. And then we saw him in the DC Power. Anyway, the point is, I'm excited to see Jefferson Pierce in a setting that is not a Black History Month anthology. And this book, the thing I love about Brandon Thomas's writing, and I always have, since I read Excellence, Volume 1, is the way he writes Black family dynamics, right? Like, family dynamics, cool. But like specifically the way he writes Black fathers and their often complicated relationships with their children, with the spouses, like it's in varying different degrees. It's not all like, Diary of a Mad Black Daddy or whatever, but it's like there are very interesting things. This time, without spoiling it, it's a take on like what happens when, as a father, you can't be the protector that you're expected to be by your family or by greater society. How does that affect you? How does that affect your kids? And what exactly is going to happen? So that's all I can say about this book without spoiling it. Just know, like, I don't know. I guess I go straight for the emotional beats in a story because there's a lot of action in here. There's a lot of stuff going on with Black Lightning and his kids. But that theme at the center of it, chef's kiss. Great stuff. Black Lightning #1. Cover price on it is $3.99. It gets a very high recommend from me, and I'm grabbing cover A. And I'm probably going to grab that Sanford Green cover too if it's not a ratio. Sue me. Next up on the DC Comics pull list is Green Lantern, issue number 17. Green Lantern, if you read the Civil Core, I don't remember what it was called, Civil Core special with Jeremy Adams and Philip Kennedy Johnson kind of merging their storylines together. We still got, was it Tharos, who's like kind of at the head of the United Planets and is not acting in good faith. He's not a good guy, right? We've got sort of the whole core, all the Earth-based lanterns kind of uniting to help take him down. And so some interesting stuff going on. Carol has got some interesting stuff going on. There's a lot of people with interesting things going on. This title is still, dare I say, interesting. I guess that's the word of the evening. Very, very cool stuff going on in Green Lantern. You should pick it up and then stay tuned. I got an interview with Jeremy Adams coming up sometime in the next couple of weeks on the podcast. Very fun conversation. And you'll see what the direction of Green Lantern is going to be for the future. Cover price on this one is $4.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And that's it. Those are the DC books on the pull list. As long as I stick to the list, those will cost me just $25 this week. I say just $25. That's half my budget, and we still got 2 more rounds of publishers to go. So let's keep it moving. Let's go over to the House of Ideas. And at Marvel Comics, I got some cuts to make. I can't remember if I cut this last month or not, but Spectacular Spider-Man issue number 9 is officially on the chopping block. I am not buying that book this month. I think I dropped it last month, but just in case, this is basically your clean jumping in point, by the way. I think the full story arc really ended with issue 8, that first one with like Arcade and all that stuff. So check that out if you're interested. Like I said, if you're like a teenager or someone that's not buying a lot of Spider-Man titles, I think this is a good one for you. But for me, I'm going to keep picking this up in trade. First trade paperback is out, by the way. Came out last week. So that got you through issues 1 through 6, plus some extras. So you can pick it up in trades, as I will be doing. But I'm not grabbing the single issue, and I'm going to save $3.99 by doing so. Next up, a book that I probably should drop, but is still on the list for now. Ultimate X-Men, issue number 9, written and drawn by Peach Momoko. I don't think I've read an issue of this past issue 5, but I don't have the first trade paperback yet, although that just came out. If I had the trade, I'd either really quickly read the trade and then decide to keep the series up, or maybe I just drop it and wait for the next trade. Because again, real life is busy and it's about to get even busier, but that's a story for another day. Ultimate X-Men number 9 is still on the pull list for now. Cover price is $4.99. I'm grabbing cover A. It's really just riding the strength of all the other Ultimate titles right now because everything else has been great. I just need to make time for that one. Speaking of X-Men titles that I have made time for, this is Uncanny XMen issue number 5, written by Gail Simone with art by David Marquez. And I went and got caught up with Uncanny XMen actually right before I filmed this video Because again, what fun is it to talk about a bunch of books you haven't read yet? So, how do I put this? Uncanny X-Men is probably my favorite X book right now. And I think I've said that for a while, but I had only read like 2 issues. But reading the other 2 issues, I confirmed, like, yeah, this is the one. Most of the X-Men books have a similar premise going on. We are in an era where mutants are hated and feared again. And there are a lot of people who had like latent mutant abilities kind of coming to the forefront. And, the X-Men are trying to save them and train them up before, Orcus or whomever, the remains of Orcus, round them up for their own nefarious purposes. There's a lot of drama going on. We don't know what's going on specifically with Charles Xavier, but there's teases that he's alive and well, or maybe not well, but alive in this book. But the point of me bringing up like just the kind of status quo is I feel like Uncanny X-Men has handled this status quo the best. And maybe Gail just got the best characters to sort of put in her story to move this along. But between like the stuff going on with Rogue, even Wolverine to a certain degree, like, how he's handling being a mentor or not handling being a mentor, and then the new mutants that they've introduced in this run, like this just feels like if you're going to read one X-Men book, it should be this one. And David Marquez's art is no small part of the reason why. Like this feels like the premier X title in ways that I expected more books to feel like. So shout out to them. Uncanny X-Men issue number 5 is out this week. Cover price is $4.99. I'm grabbing cover A. Those are the only 2 books on the pull list for Marvel this week, so those will cost me $10 as we skip on over to the indies where we got some decisions to make. There's no way around it. But let's start off with a new number 1 from Skybound Entertainment. This is G.I. Joe, issue number 1, written by Joshua Williamson with art by Tom Riley. Now, I went to New York Comic Con and actually got this little preview of G.I. Joe issue number 1. This is an unlettered preview of the book. And, whoops, maybe not the blank page. Let's look at this one. But basically what we're getting in here is like the opening pages plus some character designs for G.I. Joe. And honestly, I'm jumping in based on the art alone. So the Energon universe has been going for a while. We've got G.I. Joe, we had Void Rivals, we had Void Rivals, then we had a bunch of mini-series featuring G.I. Joe characters that I haven't read yet. And then this G.I. Joe is like our proper, jumping in point for the whole Joe's team, watching them come together, presumably. Because I've not read any of the other Energon universe stuff besides Transformers, and even that I'm a little behind on, I'm not as hyped about this as maybe some other people are. If you've been following the Energon universe from the beginning, this is probably a must-have for you. For me, it's honestly kind of a maybe list contender, but I know I pre-ordered this months ago, so it'll be in my stack, and I'm probably not going to turn it down. Because again, that Tom Riley art, really, really good. I'm on the lookout, though. They're releasing deluxe editions of all the Energon stuff that came before, so Void Rivals, and then those 2 of the first 4 miniseries, maybe all 4, I don't remember. And then the first year Transformers are all getting these deluxe hardcovers next year. Those are going to be sick. And I might just wait for G.I. Joe after that. But I'll pick up issue 1 and see what it's hitting on. $4.99 on that. I'm grabbing cover A. Next up is Johnny Quest, issue number 4 from Dynamite Entertainment. Johnny Quest, written by Joe Casey, the art by Sebastian Perez. Did I read issue 3? If I have to ask, that means I either didn't or I don't remember. So let's just say I didn't, and I'm behind an issue. This was really fun, though. I need to get back to this. I feel like I read issue 3. I don't know. Cover price on that, though, is $4.99. I'm grabbing cover A. Speaking of Dynamite, there is still the Backer Kit campaign going on right now where you can grab those Stray Dogs plushies. I'm actually talking to Tony Fleece and Trish Forstner. It's hard to say Trish Forstner's name if I don't slow down. But anyway, I'm talking to them both tonight. So pre-recording an episode of the podcast. I don't know when you'll hear it, but I'm excited about this backer kit campaign. It's got to be coming soon, right? Cover price on Johnny Quest is $4.99, and follow the backer kit campaign. Links in the description down below. Next up, also from Dynamite is, it's a whole Dynamite segment here. Space Ghost, issue number 7. Space Ghost, written by David Pepose, art by Jonathan Lau. It's been one of my favorite indie books. This is one of those books that like you can just hang your hat on. It's going to be fun. It's going to be action packed. It's going to be fairly episodic. So it's like you don't have to be all the way caught up. This is issue 7, so it's a brand new jumping in point. The trade paperback for issues 1 through 6. It's either out this week or it's on FOC this week. I don't remember, but I'll put it down there. You know, Editor Kicks always got you. The point is, you can pick up right here and then grab the trade paperback when it's out. First story arc was really, really good, and I expect nothing less from the second. Cover price on this one is $4.99. I'm grabbing cover A. Actually, I don't know if I'm grabbing cover A. I don't know whose cover I'm grabbing. I'll let you know, though. It'll be on the screen. Next up, from Dynamite is The Terminator, issue number 2. The Terminator, written by Declan Shalvey. Art. Declan Shalvey is not drawing it. Someone else is drawing it. Anyway, Terminator. So I read the first issue, and the first issue didn't have anything that you're familiar with. I mean, obviously it's got the endoskeleton, so you'll see that. But like, there's no John Connor or like Sarah Connor. There's none of that stuff. None of the stuff you remember from the movies. It's just like a random Terminator. And the first issue was really cool because it's like this old couple who kind of escaped a Terminator way back in their past, and it came back to haunt them. And so I am very curious to see like what kind of rampage this Terminator is on and how the story starts to unfold. There was a backup story, or is a backup story, written by Sal from Comic Pop. And it was only 2 pages, but it was also really cool. It's like this Terminator coming and like trying to see like, okay, is there a replacement for me, or I'm the replacement for these Terminators? Is there anything obsolete out there? I was like, that's an interesting concept as well. And they seem to work pretty well together. So cool stuff going on with Terminator. Enough for me to be intrigued through one issue. Issue 2's got a cover price of $4.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And the last book on the indie pull list this week is Transformers, issue number 14. Transformers, written by Daniel Warren Johnson, art by Jorge Corona, if I'm not mistaken. Quite honestly, I should drop this book. I'm not caught up on this book, and I said the same thing last month, and I don't see myself getting caught up anytime soon with all these new number ones coming from DC and even Marvel. But it's Daniel Warren Johnson, and he's already said that he's like going to be done with this after 24 issues. So 14 issues in, I'm already over halfway there. Might as well keep it up. This dumb comic book reader logic. Don't follow my lead. Cover price of this is $3.99. If you're loving it, keep grabbing it. I'm grabbing cover A. And that's it. Those are the indie books on the pull list this week. If I stick to the list, those are $24 I'll be spending for all those indies. And if you're keeping up at home, that means I'm over budget. My grand total right now is $59. And that's thanks to me chopping Spectacular Spiderman off the list. It would have been more. But $59, that means I need to cut 2 books from this list to realistically stay under budget. If I were going to cut 2 books, probably the best thing for me to do, quite honestly, is to not get into G.I. Joe and just wait for trades like I've been doing with the rest of the Energon Universe stuff. So if I don't buy G.I. Joe number 1, that saves me $5. And if I don't buy the Terminator number 2, because I don't have the nostalgia for the Terminator, even though it was an interesting story, I could probably wait for the trade and get the same out of it. So that saved me another $5. So that's $10 right there. Then all of a sudden I'm under budget, and that's before my subscriber discount. So that's what I should do. It's probably not what I'm going to do. I'm probably just going to make some kind of excuse and go find a way to get $15 more and add it to the budget. Go Uber or something. I don't know. But anyway, let's talk about some new number ones, new series debuts on the radar. First up, It's not a series debut, but it is a new story arc, new creative team on Amazing Spider-Man. Issue 61 is out this week, the beginning of the 8 deaths of Spider-Man. And I fall for this every time. Every time there's a new creative team on Spider-Man, I start buying Spider-Man again. If I'm honest, I don't think I've ever really stopped buying Spider-Man. Even this run, I stopped covering it a long time ago, but I kind of forgot to tell my comic shop that I wasn't buying it. So I'm pretty sure I have like all of it at this point. So then, the completist gets you and whatever, but I don't think I want to start this new story arc with Spider-Man. So this will be a great time to not buy it. But issue 61, new creative team, $4.99. Next up, the limited collector's edition number C37. It's a big tabloid-sized reprint that DC's been doing. A lot of stuff. The most recent one I grabbed was the Superman versus Muhammad Ali. This big tabloid treasury thing reprints a bunch of Batman stories from the 40s, including some debuts of villains or whatever. And why not buy that? Well, besides the fact that it's a $14 or $15 book. Next up, Power Rangers Prime, issue number 1. Power Rangers Prime, the beginning of a new era for the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers franchise. I guess it's technically not Mighty Morphin, it's just Power Rangers Prime, but if you've been following Power Rangers, if your name is Bunkmaster B, you need to grab this book. That's all I got for you. I believe it's the same creative team, or at least Melissa Flores, who's writing and has been writing Power Rangers for a while, back when it split to Mighty Morphin and then Power Rangers, and then kind of got back together for that Darkest Night event. I haven't been following Power Rangers in quite some time. But again, if you want to start, this is the time to jump in. Cover price on that is $4.99. There you go. Next up, if you missed out on Absolute Batman, the first printing came and went. Second printing came and went. Technically, the third printing is not a third printing at all. It's the Absolute Batman Noir edition. So this is going to give you the raw scans of Nick Dragata's pencils and inks. So if you haven't read it yet, you can get the just inks and letters and read the story and appreciate the artist that is Nick Dragata. That honestly would be a must buy if I wasn't over budget already. I just can't justify buying the same book twice. I'm just hoping that when we get the collected edition for Absolute Batman, they include the Noir edition as an extra in the back of it. Please do that, DC, if you're watching. $5.99 on that. And the next one, and the last book that's on the radar, is a brand new Elseworlds title from Clayman and Sethman, the Mann brothers. It's called Batman Nightfire. And I didn't even read the solicit for this. You kind of had me at Clayman, but I just don't have the money to be putting into these books. So it's just going to stay on the radar. $4.99 on that, though. I mean, I don't think I've ever read a book that Clayman wrote. But Clayman did the art in a lot of Tom King's run of Batman, and that's some of the coolest looking Batman. And apparently Seth Mann is a writer and artist in his own right. I don't think I've ever heard of Seth Mann, but he looks just like Clayman. I think they're twins, according to his League of Comic Geeks photos. Anyway, that's all. That's the extent of my knowledge on that book. Like I said, I think it's $4.99. So if you got a light week, you don't have as many books on the pull, check out some of those titles that are on the radar. Sorry this video is late. I got some crazy stuff going on this week, but if you bear with me, we'll have some exciting news to share soon. Speaking of exciting news, I did promise you this last week, so stay tuned. Mark your calendars. Black Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern, I'm doing a live claim sale with Dynamic Forces. I got to go through, digitally, of course, go through their warehouses and pick some really cool stuff for you guys to have up for grabs on Black Friday. Everything's family friendly. We got some Disney comics. We got some classic Marvel and DC. We got stuff that runs the gamut of all these different books, some graded books, some signed books, some rare variants. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff. So join me Black Friday. We'll talk more about it as we get closer to it, but I promise you that announcement. Shout out to you for staying to the end to hear it. I'll see you guys in another video soon, though. Until then, stay safe, stay awesome, and read something dope today. Peace.